It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantha Tracks TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. We're back once again with your weekly recap of everything Star Wars. We've got a lot of news to cover today, so let's find out what we're speaking about. First up, we're going to be looking at the Gentle Giant Return of the Jedi Organa ornament. Temuera Morrison's been speaking about gaming and his work on it. Will he be involved in a future Star Wars game? John Williams is hinting that he could be coming, edging ever towards retirement. Oops, I've gone too far, spoiling it. So John Williams has been mentioned that he's heading towards retirement age. I don't know, he's past retirement age, but on the twilight of his career, so we might be having a little reflection on that. Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation has released its official trailer. And Obi-Wan is, of course, all over the news as the series came to an end. We'll be talking about the return of a particular character to the franchise. Ewan McGregor has been talking about whether they'll be doing more. Hasbro have released an Obi-Wan Kenobi multi-pack. We'll be looking at that. And, of course, Obi-Wan Wednesday saw lots of stuff from Funko, Hasbro, Gentle Giant, Pop Sockets, Mad Engine, and the like. So we'll be checking all that kind of stuff out. And to go through all that news with me from FanthaTracks.com, Clair Henry. How are you, Claire?
Good morning, Tatooine. Live from the home of Binley Mega Chippy, no less.
I was going to say, it's we're going to have to head down there and venture to Binley Mega Chippy one day because it's become something of a cultural
You're going to have to come down. Yes, I took my mother there yesterday. They were queuing out the door, singing the song. Haven't quite got my head around it, but it's only about 3 minutes down the road from me. It's very strange.
And it's probably not that great a chippy.
I'm going to tell you that the Marina Fish Bar 2 minutes down the road's even better, to be honest. But, and all the TikTok users in the world, spam me out now.
And if you're not from the UK, you probably have no idea what Binley Mega Chippy is. Not even worth explaining. Not even worth explaining. TikTok is a TikTok. Yeah.
Travelled from America to come to see the Ben, and I saw its flag last night on Glastonbury. So Coventry's hitting the headlines.
Yeah, keeping it real in Coventry, aren't they?
Keeping it real in Coventry. Down with the kids. TikTok.
Something people might be more familiar with. First news item of the day from Gentle Giant, not Binley Mega Chippy, but. Princess Leia in her Boushh disguise is now part of the Premier Collection statues. I kind of like the statue, everything apart from the sort of facial expression.
Yeah, I'm going to say that this isn't, and those who know me well, know that I am a huge Princess Leia fan, massive. This isn't my favourite Leia outfit costume, but I have to say, it looks fantastic, except that face. It doesn't really do it any justice. I don't really know what's going on. It looks a bit sort of, I was going to swear there, but I can't really, but the old resting BI something else face, it's, it's not great, but looking at it like that looks fabulous. The thermal detonator and everything. And I know that a lot of cosplayers who cosplay this will be certainly looking at it thinking, this will be added to my collection. Yeah. It's. I think it retails at, was it about $200?
$200. It's coming out tail end of the year. So in terms of price point from Gentle Giant, it's not too bad, but. Yeah, I don't know what's happened. They're normally very good in terms of facial features and so on, but it's not worked on this design at all.
The previous Leia edition was one that I was really interested in, but it went boom. It went really quickly. But I think it looks good. I think the certainly the details on the costume and everything are great, but it's just not capturing what she looked like in the Return of the Jedi. In that point, she was a bit. She was more ernsty, a bit more, trying to get Han home, etc., etc. Yeah. And doesn't capture the moment for me really in Return of the Jedi, if I'm honest.
Mr. Naylor.
Oh, evening, gorgeous, and Claire. Why? Thank you very much, Paul. But I would be quite interested if because it seems to be that they're sort of progressing through, time frames over. I would quite like to see the slave Leia Princess Leia, that's my favourite. That's the one I have.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for them next year to head to the 40th anniversary. Are they going to continue this unofficial boycott of that kind of product range, or are they going to go back to it and allow products be made around that? Because it's whether people like it or not, it's iconic and part of that film.
Well, I'm going to be honest, Brian, and say to you, so I met Carrie Fisher. I've met Carrie Fisher a couple of times in the capacity of getting autographs and stuff. And the last time I met her and I got an autograph was with my daughter, and we had the array of photographs. And I said to Carrie, while Sophie was playing with Gary Fisher, the dog, I said, I'm struggling to choose which one. And she immediately pointed to Slave Leia, and she says, you picked that one because, boy, girl, I looked hot in that picture. And I said, well, that's the one for me then. And she then at that point recognized its significance, knew it was, okay, male fantasies for quite a lot of people, possibly female fantasies too. But for me, I love that character. So I'm hoping that for the Return of the Jedi's anniversary next year that they do release it, because I think it's iconic. I've got photographs of me and Madame Tussauds pretending to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd like to see that version, to be honest.
I don't know how you avoid it when you come to the sort of Return of the Jedi anniversary. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. It causes a lot of controversy and the name change, etc. But I'm an original trilogy girl. That's what I called it, and that's what I'll always call it. And for me, having Carrie's autograph on it seals its stamp for me, to be honest. And the fact that she chose it, speaks volumes in my opinion, to be honest. So yeah. So Gentle Giant, listen to me. Be brave. Do it for all the old trilogy fans like myself. You want to.
Important question coming up in the group chat. What do you think of Maka last night? We're going back to Glastonbury.
Well, I mean, we could probably lead on to the John Williams story and say, time to stop. Not John Williams, but Paul McCartney. Dear goodness gracious me, dreadful. Yeah. Dreadful. The only highlight was Dave Grohl and Bruce Springsteen, and that's because they came on to mask that poor man singing. Let it go.
There we go. We mentioned John Williams. Let's get back on topic. So he's mentioned he may be heading towards retirement, or at least pulling back a little bit, I think, potentially not doing movies and so on. And he also kind of threw the sort of the comment out there that if Harrison Ford can do it, then so can he. So he's maybe suggesting, as Harrison said to him, that he's thinking of stepping away, or at least limiting what he now does.
You can imagine the pair of them having a conversation. I mean, I'm almost getting to that age myself where I'm considering retirement, and that's what you do, isn't it? You sort of think, I'm too old for this. I'm too long in the tooth. This is taking far longer than what it used to, etc. And they probably were just having that sort of a conversation about it. But 2 minutes later, they'll be dragged into doing something, the pair of them. One will be doing a film and one of them will be doing a music score, without a shadow of a doubt. I quite liked the way that he said, I can't play tennis. That was quite amusing. But I mean, the music that he's helped to do with the latest Obi-Wan, just proves that he is a maestro and he will be remembered as such. He is certainly one of the most talented composers, musicians, conductors that we've seen, certainly in our lifetime, and I would class him up there as one of the great, of all time. And I would say, years later, that's what people will be saying, iconic, really.
Yeah.
You forget how many films he's actually done until you go to a John Williams concert and you're sitting there going, oh yeah.
I had YouTube on shuffle in the background earlier, and it came to some John Williams stuff, because I'd been Googling about it because we were doing this show, and YouTube latches onto anything that you've been Googling. And it came up with them conducting, doing the Superman anthem, which is good. You kind of forget that all these iconic soundtracks that he did, whether it's Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Superman, and Jurassic Park, all these things in between. What a career! And
Harry, he was Harry Potter as well. You know, you forget how many things there are until you sit down and you, as you say, you think about it, or you're watching something and it says music by John Williams. So if the man wants a break, he certainly deserves one. But if he can keep going, that's fine by me. I was really sorry. I was due to go and see him. He was meant to do conduct a concert at the Royal Albert Hall. It was just the Christmas before COVID, and he wasn't very well himself, so he had to, pull the pin. He couldn't fly over, and it was, it was sad, but we listened to the concert anyway, and it was just incredible. All the music, the mood. That's the thing about it. The mood that he sets in those films, he can bring you from laughing your head off to bring you right down to make you really, sad and crying and feeling all like that.
Yeah. I think every time
Martin Keeler, you really should.
I know. Anytime I book tickets for John Williams, he cancels. He only does celebrations panels or celebrations that I don't get to. So it's like he's just avoided me. He's avoided me. He's going to make it to the end of his career and never encounter me. What a lucky guy.
Well, you see, that's the thing. I did see him. I was at that 40th panel. I've got my mug to prove it. Look. Ta-da. There you go. And when that curtain opened, it was, oh gosh, it was something else. And you knew you were in the company of the great. And the orchestra was the Florida Symphonic Orchestra, I think it was. And they were superb. It was mind blowing. So yeah, and I know that he does quite a lot of concerts, doesn't he, out in the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles quite a lot. So I see a lot of our friends are out there sitting watching it, and they take it for granted, and we're like going, oh. But do you know what? If he wants to retire, take a break, so be it, and learn how to play a game of tennis, crack on. Yeah. At 90, you can do whatever you want.
From one Star Wars legend to another, Temuera Morrison's been talking. Well, this was actually at Celebration. He talked with Game Bible, and he talked about his involvement in the gaming industry, and he's been doing a few voices for video games. He finds that a lot harder than work on TV. And when they asked him specifically about Star Wars, he kind of commented about working on that as well. So is that hinting that he's going to be involved in a new Star Wars game?
Well, I tell you what, that man has, the voice of a million troopers, isn't he? And he's going to turn up everywhere now that Disney Plus is on the go. I mean, we've seen him all over the place, haven't we? We've seen him in Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
And for him, this is probably the gift that keeps on giving. To know what we're going to do. A game about troopers. Yeah, I'll do that. No problem. Yeah. And what was it? He said he's got to voice, he's got to voice so many hundreds of troopers, in different ways. But brilliant. Yeah.
I think made the comment that, the game lives on in a slightly different way as well, which is an interesting take on it.
And I think the thing about it for me is he comes across as a really genuine guy, really lovely guy, really clearly loves what he does, loves the roles that he's been playing, understands where, Lucasfilm, Disney are coming from with what they need from him. And he will do what's needed for whichever element it is, whether it be, Boba Fett, whether it be a clone or whatever. So, I think he's definitely going to be on there. I think for the gamers amongst us, I think he's going to be very happy with that, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or they are really,
Paul Muir asking will be involved in Bad Batch potentially. Paul maybe disagreeing a little, thinking D. Bradley Baker's better suited to voicing clones.
Possibly, but I think his profile's been raised so much now. I think that, they should use that one. Use him for it simply because, ride on the back of the popularity of the Book of Boba Fett and the fact that he's appeared as, as a cameo in Obi-Wan, etc., etc. I think they're sort of riding on that aspect of it now and want to carry that through because it's all interlinked. in that sense. So I think he's going to definitely. I think it's going to happen. For me, it makes sense to ride on the back of him doing it and being involved in so many things at the minute.
Matt there, he'd rather have D2. So lots of different opinions there. Talking of games, Lego Star Wars.
That is the other thing. I mean, there are so many people do the voices. I think there's something like 5 people do Leia's voice. So it could be, but I think that they'll go with the one at the minute that's on trend.
Yeah. Talking of games, Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation has released its first trailer, so we can run that in the background whilst we're talking about it.
Oh, please. It just makes me giggle so much. I mean, we, Marcus and I, used to play the Lego Star Wars. It's highly, highly addictive. I might look at the Hawaiian shirt. Just absolutely classic. Whoever comes up with these things have just got such a great sense of humour. I do find it funny about them. Whoever that was crowd surfing. That was brilliant. Of course it's cannon pull. Of course it is. This is exactly what happens. This is what we all think. And, the band in the background, and a nice gentle nod to that terrible Star Wars, what do you call it? The holiday special,
holiday special,
the original one with the jumpers and everything on it. I think, that's just funny. And there you go. There's a perfect opportunity to stick Slave Leia right in front of Jabba there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, Matt. I think it's absolutely superb. It just makes me... there's a bit when Leia turns around and says, "Be careful with your hand. We seem to lose hands, or hands are bad in this family." Brilliant. Just all those sorts of little nods to things that happen. There it is. That's hilarious. Here we go. It's a wrap. And again, Weird Al Yankovic is on it. They just know how to click everybody's fans button. Weird Al, he's such an iconic person in the fandom. I think I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very, very funny. It just is very witty for kids and witty for the adults who are kids within them. I think it's going to be quite funny. I mean, it's a wrap with the Twi'lek. It's I just think that all these little nods to everything within it, and it all just links again, and it's just very funny.
Definitely. It's coming to Disney Plus August 5th, and on Disney Plus at the moment we've all been enjoying Obi-Wan.
Yes. So
what was your thoughts on the overall series? Because we're now at the end. We're going to discuss spoilers, obviously. Anyone who hasn't seen the finale, what you doing watching this? Should be watching Obi-Wan. But what was your take on the series as a whole?
Well, I'm probably going to say something. I know lots of people are humming and hawing about it, but I absolutely loved it. I loved it from start to finish. I couldn't, as we said when we first talked about it, you, myself and Mark, it went in a curveball that as a Leia fan, that was me. I was hooked from the start to the very end. And for me, I just loved it. I just loved all the twists and the turns. I loved the nods in each of the series to all the OT films and the prequels. I thought Hayden Christensen did a great job as Vader. I thought that was, he was superb, and that I think he carried, because it's very hard to play such an iconic character as Darth Vader, knowing what's happened in the past. And I think, oh, absolutely, it was. I was in heaven with it. And to finish at the end with the Leia theme tune, that was it. I was in bits. I'm not going to lie. Every single episode I was laughing, and then all of a sudden in tears. Just it tweaked all my heartstrings. It tweaked everything that I needed it to do. It's how I imagined Leia to be as a feisty 10-year-old. Would I want her as my daughter? Probably not. But it's exactly how I thought it would be. It mirrored Claudia Gray's sort of persona of the teenage Leia that you see in her books before, when she's in the academy and before trying to be a senator. So for me, that thread of Leia was great. I knew Reva had some sort of role, was obviously that Padawan at the start, hinted at the start. But I didn't see that was the arc that she was going for, to try and kill Vader. I think that was a bit naive of a plot to do in a way. It was a bit, yeah. And then for her to have a lightsaber stuck in her, and then all of a sudden she comes, back. But as we all know, with Darth Maul, etc., that happens in Star Wars all the time. So for her, unfortunately, I feel it was a bit of a weak twist. My daughter, 13-year-old, thought it was fantastic. She saw it and she loved it. So, I'm maybe coming from it from a more cynical point of view, perhaps. So her, twist was a bit weak. Unfortunately, I thought she herself was brilliant. I thought the actress who played her was fantastic. I thought that was great. Rupert Friend was great as the Inquisitor. I really liked him. And Ewan McGregor, I think, between him and young Leia, I think between the pair of them, they just stole the show.
Yeah. It kind of works better for me as a young Leia series than it did necessarily an Obi-Wan series. I think you could have paired her up with another Jedi or another hero of some description, and it would have worked just as well.
But would it have drawn as many people to watch it? Probably not.
I think a lot more people would have been critical of it going in if you said we're making a young Leia series.
Yeah, and they'd all be demanding Billy Bobby Brown to do it, and there'd be all this huge contention about who should play her, etc., etc. So I think they've done it. I think they did it well. I think they kept it quiet, and the big reveal obviously was her there in the first episode, and I think that was the right way to do it, because I think sometimes Leia fans can be, and Carrie Fisher fans can be quite, hard on whether to do it or not. I mean, I frankly think that Leia should have died in The Last Jedi. I don't think they should have reprieved her. I think when she was sucked out, and they did that before they did that stupid Space Mary Poppins, it was fine. Luke wasn't whiny enough. Yeah. If I'm honest, he wasn't whiny enough. He needed be a bit more.
I kind of thought he needed to be a bit of a spoilt brat.
Yeah, spoilt brat, or desire to do things that he was too compliant. Yeah. He was too compliant. There he was, merrily fixing the vapor, whatever it was, and tootling away, doing what his auntie and uncle was telling him. Whereas in A New Hope, he wasn't. So, I think he was too compliant and too submissive and not as feisty as what he could have been, because in A New Hope, he was whiny, he was determined, he was doing what he wanted to do. So, yeah, exactly. We needed to see that sort of stuff, whining about his power converters and wanting to go out and play in the galaxy. Did think it was a nice touch that we find out why the spaceship that Luke, faffs around with while he's doing R2-D2, came about. So I thought that was a nice touch, because obviously that linked the start to the end. You want to go and see him, etc.
Took it out of the box, so he's not a proper Star Wars fan.
Say that again?
He took a toy out of the box, so he's not a proper Star Wars fan.
Yeah. Thousands of man-childs were crying, no, that doesn't mean it's in mint condition. I could sell that up for this amount. I thought it was really clever when they, Obi-Wan lifted the rocks. What is the purpose of Jedi? I quite like that joke running through Star Wars now. I think that's quite amusing. So for him to lift all those rocks, I thought that was quite funny. And the fact that, with Vader then being injured, and the crossover of the voices between James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen. I thought that was really clever. I thought that was
really well done.
Really well done. I thought that was superb. And then, of course, it, giving away the line, "I killed Vader," which helps everybody to understand why Obi-Wan in A New Hope says your father was killed by Darth Vader. Everybody in Lucasfilm Limited were going, how can we get this into the script?
Yeah.
You could almost see it like that. But
of course,
overall for me, it was a bit like, what do people say the Book of Boba was? Mandalorian 2.1. I think Obi-Wan could have probably been called, Little Miss Leia.
Yeah. One surprise appearance at the end was this guy, Qui-Gon Jinn. Back as a
man from my country.
Yeah, back as a Force ghost at the end of the series. I don't know if he had great purpose or meaning in terms of being back. It was kind of...
it was a fanboy, fangirl moment.
It was, yeah.
We all wanted that. Well, if they hadn't have done that at the end, because they were hinting at it from the start, weren't they?
Yeah.
Him trying to speak to him and call them, a bit like Rey did in The Rise of Skywalker. He's at peace now, and there he comes. Brilliant. Fangirling all over that one.
Liam Neeson kind of suggested before that he wasn't interested in doing TV. He'd come back and do a movie. And I'm just reading this quote that he kind of gave to the Hollywood Reporter, that he didn't want anyone else playing a character. He wanted to respect George Lucas, and Ewan McGregor's a pal. He doesn't seem completely up for, if they do a season 2, for being back and doing anything, a role of great significance, I don't think.
No, I mean, he has said that in the past, that he, the TV series, he said it a couple of months ago, didn't he, that TV wasn't really his medium, and that's not something he was massively into. But you know what? Show them enough money and tell them that it's what all the fans want. And then, of course, in his head, ching, maybe he'll do Star Wars Celebration next year. We are in home turf here. So, that could lead up quite nicely for, Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson to be back together.
Yeah. Who
knows? It's something that could happen. It might take the shine off the Return of the Jedi anniversaries, but I think that's an opening up too. I think it was great to see him. I was, that just for me rounded it all off, and I know that certainly the prequel trilogy fans were absolutely going nuts for it all over Twitter and everything. They were really pleased to see him. So, I thought he was going to be cancelled there a couple of years ago because of some quotes that he'd said about certain things in the news. I thought, oh, this is it. Disney's never going to use him again. But actually, he's managed to pull himself back from that and get himself back on. And he looks good.
Yeah, because the last time I think I saw him in public, he didn't look particularly well at all, but he looked good.
Yeah, he looked...
You mentioned the sort of prequels, and I think that's maybe been the great success of the Obi-Wan TV show, is that it's given the people who grew up with the prequels and loved the prequels just a chance to celebrate that a little bit.
Yeah, because if you remember, when the prequels were out, they weren't so much loved by lots of people, Certainly, I mean, obviously we didn't have the social media behind it, but, they weren't, and for those fans to get something back, I think was a right thing to do, and it was brilliant. I think they didn't get everything that they wanted. I think they wanted a bit more Clone War sort of throwback action, but that whole lightsaber training scene I thought in Coruscant was excellent. I thought that was great, very well done. And obviously that's what they were training for when you saw the photographs. In Vanity Fair, etc. So, they've worked hard at producing, a great TV series, in my opinion. Deborah Chow, and I can't remember the name of the writer, it's slipped my mind. But I think they've done a cracking job. And certainly from my point of view, anyway, I'm completely biased.
Joby Harold, I think, rings a bell.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You mentioned Deborah Chow there, and she's also been speaking after the series is concluded, and she spoke about working with Ewan and the fact he took on the role as a producer on the series and was so much more heavily involved. And she mentioned as well that, that the prequels kind of weighed heavy on him, and that he's kind of had to live with this public persona of being Obi-Wan for the past 20 plus years, which
and I think he was a reluctant one too, because they didn't bomb at the box office, did they? But there was a lot of ridicule when they first came out from a lot of areas, and and when you join the Star Wars franchise, whichever one trilogy you happen to be, that stays with you for forever, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He was tortured, wasn't he? Every interview, you're going to do Obi-Wan again, you're going to do Obi-Wan again. So eventually he wore himself down and started saying yes.
There's very few actors outside of their roles in Star Wars that actually have a successful career out with Star Wars once they've been in Star Wars. He's maybe one of the few.
Harrison Ford's probably one of the only other ones.
Natalie Portman. So, you could probably hold them on a handful on your hand as to how many have a hugely successful career away from Star Wars. So always having that burden on him must have held with him. And like when he's talked about it, he's talked, about the prequels and it being critic driven, the dislike of it, how everything was negative, and he's enjoyed the fact that this younger generation kind of now have a voice through the Obi-Wan series to express their love for the prequels again.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I know that Johanna and I were talking about that in Planet Leia, that she was a prequel fan, and it gave her lots of the things that she wanted from the prequels. The nods back to it, Padme, and I thought it was particularly good at the end that Obi-Wan acknowledged to Leia that he did know her mother and father and was able to speak to her about it, because it's quite interesting. In one of the Claudia Gray books, there's a point in it where Leia is there and there's a statue of Amidala there, and they're talking about her and what a great leader she was and inspirational, etc. And and she walks past and says, looks at her, etc. It's quite a poignant moment, clearly not knowing it's her mother. Aspires to be somebody like her. So I thought that was quite nice at the end that Kenobi gets to tell Leia, a bit about her real parents, so to speak.
Yeah.
And even then, and it was nice that the Emperor came back.
Yeah. Yes,
it is about redemption. And I mean, even Reva's redemption, her redemption happened in the end of the story, end of this series. So every bit of it is about redemption, and even then, you could sort of see with him talking to the Emperor again. It was great to see him in it. I didn't think we were going to. So when he was talking with Palpatine about it, you can sense then that there's clearly a weakness in Vader, and that Palpatine is clearly worried about it, and is mindful that this Padawan of his, his Sith number 2 is clearly still wavering on what is right, what is wrong. So and ultimately that's his downfall and Vader's redemption in the Return of the Jedi. So I'm wondering whether that's going to play a part at some point. You'll see if they do another series, are they going to do it in that way, which is you can see why Vader in the end turns to save his son and his daughter.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And you obviously said there that he's interested in doing another one if they can come up with the idea, I think. So I think it's probably something we're going to see maybe a few years down the line, but everyone seems to be keen to find the right project to bring them all back together again.
Yeah, it has to, as somebody said, you've got to, like for this series, what would get Kenobi off Tatooine and away from Luke? And it was Leia. I didn't see it coming myself, but in hindsight, yes, absolutely. So it's going to have to be, is he now going to be wandering around the galaxy with Qui-Gon Jinn trying to find all the Jedi? Well, clearly not, because in the New Hope, he ends up back in Tatooine still looking after Luke. So, it's obviously going to have to be something clever to pull that and that bit together, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the benefits, I think, of this series over some other projects that have been on Disney Plus has been that they've had products coming out at the time that the show's been on air, or at least announced, if not on shelves. And this past week, we were lucky enough on FantaTracks.com to reveal one of those products that is now up for pre-order on Amazon, which was the Vintage Collection Obi-Wan multi-pack. Sort of 3 figures part of that. You had the classic Obi-Wan from the series, which
that looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah, everybody's kind of loving that design of the figure, I think.
It's the movement and the action in it. They've done that actually really, really well, haven't they? It looks fluid. It doesn't look clunky. It's smart. They've got the facial expressions right on that figure. That figure, to me, is pretty much Ewan McGregor in that latter stages of Obi-Wan.
Yeah. You've also got the Purge Trooper, which obviously was seen throughout the series as well. Alongside the Inquisitor Overlords. And last but not least, we had Tika, the Jawa. Everybody loves a Jawa. And
the fact that he called Obi-Wan smelly, that was quite amusing for a Jawa.
And so that's obviously all coming. And lovely looking 3-pack, very classic look to it.
Well, it does. It has that feeling of the original figures pack, doesn't it? The ones that everybody bought on the Never Never, hoping that they were going to get one.
yeah.
Classic, really nice.
Funko as well, always on the ball. So you've kind of got the whole range there, that sort of leads throughout the series. Obi-Wan, Vader, Reva. I'm now going to forget the guy's name.
Oh gosh!
That shows you how well used he was in the series. And Tala.
Yeah, she was great. That was a real loss. Again, that was a bit like when they killed off the character at the very start of Solo. It's just like, what did you do that for? She had the potential. But again, it was redemption, wasn't it? It was the story of redemption and death, and that seems to be Star Wars' thing. But she was brilliant. Her character, I thought, was absolutely excellent. I was really sorry that she, didn't make it to the end. But clearly is the influence on Leia and, her determination and her bravery. So, I suppose she had an important role to play. Roken, that's it. Thank you, Mark.
Keep us right.
But I was sad to see her go. Funko Pops, cute. Yeah. My daughter loves Funko Pops. It's definitely a generational thing, that.
Yeah. At the higher end of the market, Gentle Giant as well, with a Purge Trooper, which looks fine. Not for me, but looks okay. Something that I think might appeal to a lot more people. Not for me, because I'm not a droid fan. But Ned B, which... unique looking figure, which is going to be popular among Hasbro people, because I know there's been so much complaints about repeats of designs and repaints and so on, that they've actually got something new and different.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of cosplay of that droid at Celebration next year. I think we're going to see at least one, if not two. Yeah. I'm quite looking forward to seeing that in the cosplay competition. Oh dear, Paul Naylor.
I know, that's what we expect from Newbold Paul. There's loads of apparel and everything, t-shirts out there now. Mad Engine seems to be all over that.
Fit. I'm just going to put that out there. No female fit of any shape or form, and so you have to put on a small t-shirt, and it looks and you buy yourself a big one and you use it as your pajamas.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to see Brian cosplay as a droid, I think hell would freeze over before Brian would ever cosplay a droid.
I'd do the torture droid if you could get me like the apparatus where I could like burn another droid's feet. Could do that quite happily.
I'm sure we could arrange that. So yeah, the clothes are great. And as I say, I'm going to put out here live on air, you know, her universe start shipping to Europe and UK, please. You know, we do miss it. I know it was on EMP for a while, but we got the dregs of what the people in America didn't want, and neither did we. We wanted the proper stuff. So yeah, it would be good to see some more female apparel coming out, because as lovely and as stylish as that is, it's not good on a woman, really.
Yeah. And the last item, very odd, but pop sockets. I don't know why they're getting the big thing.
These are very on trend with all the youth. My daughter has one on the back of her phone. You know, it's all very trendy when you're taking your selfie in the toilet.
I'm perhaps just getting too old.
Yeah, and you customize it, you know, so you've got your phone like this and you're taking your selfie, you know.
No.
And if you have the right one there, you know, it's looking good. I do need to mention that to Matt, here it is. Oh, I've going the wrong way. The Moby Fox Vader strap, and it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's very stylish. And when you open it up inside, let me just show you. It's limited edition Obi-Wan Kenobi on this side, and not on the toilet, in the toilet. That's what all the youth are doing now. You need to get down with the youth. So you've got your Star Wars Celebration livery, and this is the clever bit. This is what I wanted to sort of say and point out, that it's Vader's face with flames.
Okay.
Linked to I think that's linked to the last episode.
Yeah.
So that's very clever from Moby Fox. They've obviously had the lowdown and that. So yeah, so a very cool looking strap. I really love it.
I have to say that was a highlight of the series for me, was Obi-Wan getting dragged through the fire. And I have to admit, at like 8:15 in the morning, shouting out, "Burn him!"
Burn! Burn!
The neighbours must have been wondering what was going on that morning. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. I thought it was Vader getting nasty.
I have to say, this is the first Star Wars series that I was up and online for when it was released. You know, I was up and online. Star Wars things in toilets. Who do that? I do. I have a picture. I'll take it and I'll put it on my social media. I bought a picture, and it's the Vader pointing at Princess Leia, and it's above my toilet, and it says "Pull my finger." It's by a local artist. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's done like in a Banksy graffiti style. So, you know, it's great. But this is the first series out of all of them that I have been up and watching it when it was released. For The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett, I watched it on the day of release, usually, but this was the one I was up. I was watching it. It had me gripped.
Yeah, I kind of agree. You know, it ended up not being a series for me, which is fine, because not everything can be for everybody. And especially the last episode, it went in all the directions I didn't want it to go in. But, you know, that's
What did you want to go in? What was?
I guess it played, you know, I had 20 years of headcanon plus more in there. And it started hurting. So yeah, I kind of tried to park that before the series started, and I got motivated for it. I was always up in the morning extra early so I could get that, able to watch a 40-minute program in 30 minutes before I head to work.
Yeah, excuse me.
And I enjoyed watching it. I don't think there was an episode I didn't enjoy. Didn't particularly enjoy the storyline. Or the Leia sections of it. I kind of enjoyed that. I just didn't buy into the whole Obi-Wan being off-world and confronting Vader. I just didn't feel like it needed to happen. I suppose was the
It didn't need to happen, but it was what the prequel fans wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's hard to diss on the series when you see how happy some people were with regards it.
Yeah, as you say, there's something for everybody at some point in some time. Possibly Andor is going to take it the way you want it to go.
Yeah.
I have high hopes for it now as well. If this is this is how they're going with it, Ahsoka. I'm not necessarily a Ahsoka fan as such. I like Ashley Eckstein and what she's done for the fandom. But for us, Ahsoka as a character, take or leave it. So, I could be wrong. I don't think I'll be up watching it at 8 o'clock in the morning like I was Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Possibly, or if it's going to go down give me the same feels as Rogue One did, then I think I will be. I'm going to next Friday. I have a husband-child-free evening. I'm going to sit and watch it all from start to finish in the whole 3 hours, 20 minutes.
I'm going to do that sometime as well because I'm interested to see how it feels. And I think it's because they've called it part 1, part 2, part 3. There's very much viewing this as something that should be consumed together. It kind of feels like,
and that's why I think that's the feel I got from it. It did feel like the old Saturday morning movies, which is what Lucas always intended Star Wars to be. So and I've decided. I learned very quickly from the latest trilogy, don't go in with any expectations, and hopefully you'll be surprised and you'll like what you see.
And I think part of why I'm looking forward to Andor so much is it's going to step out from in front of the computer screen, and it's going to be out on locations a lot. It's going to have a different look and a different feel from perhaps what we've seen so far on Disney Plus.
Which is what the film was like too, Rogue One.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to feel like that. I'm hoping Mads will be in it, for a good chunk of it, through that catalyst book for the prequel for Rogue One. So, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's got a different challenge as well, Andor, in terms of it's a character people are maybe less invested in and less familiar with than your whole Obi-Wan, Anakin, Darth Vader trifecta there. So
and you see that, and we're all already doing what we said would have happened if we'd have thought it was a Princess Leia story.
Yep.
Saying, how can they do this? How can they do that? And that's then where, as you say, your headcanon starts to get wrecked. Do you know what? Go into it with nothing, no expectations, and hopefully it'll deliver something of what you wanted.
And the toughest task, I think, for Andor is it's getting released at the same time as we're going to have House of Dragon and Rings of Power as well on air. So it's really up against the big hitters in terms of
it is, and I mean, those look absolutely superb.
Yep.
Not going to lie, when I'm back home in Northern Ireland, you can see snippets of one of them because one of them's being filmed in Northern Ireland. The other one is moving to Northern Ireland, ironically, to be filmed as well from New Zealand. So that's quite a big coup for there. But yeah, I mean, they will be, if they're in like what the films or Game of Thrones was like, they'll be absolutely superb. And that's a tough call for a, in-betweeny film in the Star Wars cycle that was released at a very bad time and didn't capture, the footfall and the cinema goers that it really needed to and deserved to do, to be fair.
Yep. I think that's a fair comment.
Which is a shame.
That's us pretty much caught up in all the Star Wars news this week. Appreciate you coming on and going over it with me.
I love Star Wars.
Yeah. Appreciate all the comments from everyone in the chat as well. Good morning, Tatooine. I'll be back next Sunday. And in the meantime, keep your eyes on fantatracks.com for all the latest Star Wars news. And good night, everyone.
Good night, and we'll see you next week.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.